title of this mini podcast is How to Stay Stuck. It's got to be decades ago that the Grasshopper said something to me that I've never forgotten. Seeking validation for the way you are keeps you the way you are. Boy, that one hit home, because it's true. If I can find a reason for my shortcoming and then get you to agree with me about it, well, now I've formed a club. And that club becomes a wall, and that wall keeps me safely protected from progress. I was flying on a business trip once and met a young couple, really sweet. She was a teacher, he was a recruiter. We got talking, and I mentioned that I taught seminars on smoking cessation and weight loss. Her eyes lit up. She asked great questions, thoughtful questions. Then she said, I don't really need to lose weight, but I do have some negative family issues around food that keep me from eating healthier. And then she turned to her husband and said, he knows what I'm talking about. That moment was fascinating to me, not because she had food issues. Most of us do. Our early caregivers passed along their preferences, their anxieties, their prejudices. That's just how it works. But here's what was more interesting than important. She wasn't looking for a solution. She was looking for validation. Now listen, the reason you got here might be interesting. It might even be understandable. But the way forward isn't determined by how you got here. It's determined by how you get from here to where you want to go. You're already here. There's no need to go back and get here again. When we search for justification, it's like looking through a telescope backwards. Everything gets smaller, distorted, far away from where we need to focus. It reminds me of another situation. A friend of mine was struggling with her teenage daughter. The daughter had moved in with her father and was acting out in more ways than I can list. My friend blamed her ex-husband for allowing the behavior. I suggested she and the ex sit down together, put aside their differences, and figure out how to help their daughter. But every time the conversation drifted back to who was at fault, the focus shifted. It stopped being about the daughter. It became about them. That's how easy it is to lose the forward path. Searching for a scapegoat is like planting seeds in a field that won't grow crops. Nothing comes of it. Real growth starts in the current moment, not in blame, not in justification, not in assembling a jury to rule in your favor. The fastest way to derail progress is to argue for your position instead of evaluating your options. Now let me soften this just a bit. When people argue for their limitations, they're usually not just looking for validation. They're looking for acknowledgement of their pain. They want someone to see they're hurting. That's human. But here's the caution. If you let that story go on longer than about 5 minutes, you're no longer helping. You're reinforcing. You might be a good listener. You might even be a good friend. But you're helping them stay stuck. How you got here? That's for historians. Where you go from here, that's action. And action is how you make new history, instead of reiterating and defending the old one. All the best, John.